Welcome back. Our next guest is Carys Cragg. She is from Vancouver and she joins us today. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. You have a very unique story. It's not a story many of us could relate to, but it's clearly something that has helped you in your world. Carys Cragg's father was murdered in a botched home invasion when she was 11 years old. Was this in Calgary?
Yeah, we were living in Calgary at the time. My dad was training to become an orthopedic surgeon there.
Okay. The intent perhaps was not that your father was supposed to be killed. They were looking to break in and steal some stuff. It went terribly wrong. Terrible for you at 11 years old. A very tender time for you. From what I understand, Carys, you went 20 years later and decided, I want to approach the person, the man who was the responsible for your dad's death.
I did.
Talk about this with me. Why is that?
Yeah, so, I didn't want to do that until the moment I did. I never thought of doing that. I knew since my mid-20s, I kind of knew that that was an option through, I work in the social services, so I kind of heard of these ideas, but certainly not mainstream. Even now, restorative justice is kind of hitting the mainstream discussion and dialogue. But I think at that point in time, I realized I had a window with regard to the offender's incarceration. So I knew that there was 5 years, and I thought, I think I want to try something. I didn't know what it was going to look like, but I knew I wanted to be in contact, and so the restorative justice workers in Langley helped me start that process.
We have a picture of you and your dad. I will assume that you guys were quite close leading up to the time of him passing.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for your story. Tell me, what exactly is restorative justice for people who don't understand?
Yeah, okay, so restorative justice, it means a lot of different things, but at its kind of center and core, and I speak of this as a recipient, not a practitioner in restorative justice, but really it's about repairing the harm that is caused by crime. And harm, of course, can mean a million different things, and what harm the offender has done and also has experienced in their life, as well as the victim and victims. Any type of crime causes harm, and we have a criminal justice system that responds to that harm in a very particular way, and restorative justice has developed to respond more to kind of those relationship harms and other types of harms. And so that's where it starts, and then it unfolds in a lot of different ways.
You started by writing letters.
Yes.
You actually went and met him. He was at Drumheller Institution, is that right?
That's right.
You went and sat down face to face with your father's killer. I mean, talk to me about that. How did it go?
Yeah, so I'm really glad we corresponded for 1.5 years before that happened. In fact, my restorative justice workers told me very early on, okay, I think we're set. We're kind of, give you a stamp of approval to go meet him early on. But I said, no, I'm not ready yet. I still want to correspond. And so for me, the letters were a really safe space to explore things, to establish who I was and what I wanted and what he was about. He lied about the crime for a good 12 years into the sentence, and then started to become more honest and more forthcoming.
Was that after you made contact?
No, it was before, on his own. And that's actually part of the book that I wrote. Anyways, and so we, we wrote for quite a while and then met him. And for me, the meeting him was just more of an extension of him becoming more of a person. Before I contacted him, he was very much a ghost. No one ever talked about him, for better or for worse. And he just slowly became more of a person. So when I met him in person, he had, he had a body. I saw his demeanor, and then we closed up writing pretty soon after that, and I haven't been in contact since.
What did that sort of not permanent relationship, but it was a time in your life. What did it do to help you? How did it help you heal? Did it help you heal?
Yeah, entirely. I mean, I'm pretty well-functioning human being before, but I guess what it did was it really kind of had more of a deeper healing. So even just the correspondence, so just, saying who my dad was, early on in the correspondence, I learned that he knew nothing about my dad beyond what was said in the newspapers and the trial. And I thought, wow, what have you been thinking about for the past 20 years? And how could you even imagine what the harms you caused unless you knew who you took away? And so part of the letter writing was about that. This is my dad and who he was to me, and how important that relationship is and continues to be. And here's how I have tried to heal by continuing that relationship. And so just those moments of writing to each other and then just extending those in person, those conversations, that was healing, those types of things. And there were a million of things like that.
Was it healing for him?
Yes, I believe so. So he has said that. He said that at parole hearings, actually. And I've been told that through other people who were kind of working alongside him, and said that, it has had meaning for him. And he's also said that to me in person and in the letters, just that, my honesty, but also kind of a respectful honesty, really meant something to him, that he could be both held accountable pretty harshly, but also respected as a human being. Yeah.
And so you have spoken to a lot of media about this because you believe so much in the restorative justice program, but you have also, as you mentioned, you wrote a book called Dead Reckoning. You can get it at, excuse me, chapters, some chapters, locations, but certainly you can look it up online. That's on the screen right now. So good for you for writing a book. I think there are people out there that would find it very interesting to read your story, Carys.
Yeah.
And there's two different nonprofits in town that have made it possible for you to come to Kamloops today and have a sort of a session tonight at the Calvary Community Church. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so today, or this week rather, is a nationally recognized week in Canada. Actually, Restorative Justice Week is in November, late November, but this week is Victims and Survivors of Crime Week. And the Elizabeth Fry Society and the Interior Restorative Justice Network are co-hosting an event called Victim Sensitive Restorative Justice Practices. And so I'm here to kind of come and share some stories, do some readings from the book and other essays that I've written. And it really kind of just speaks to kind of that interior experience as a victim of crime, just to kind of make that known, because of course not everyone has experienced crime, although I know that everyone has experienced pain brought on upon or harm by another person in some way. And so there's always something that that connection can be made.
Yes, and quickly, I know that our government is actually trying to promote and advocate for this sort of alternative approach.
Yes, yes. And so you'll hear that kind of in political statements or mission statements, policies, etc. And so you'll see the word restorative justice come out in a lot of different ways, whether it's diversion programs or programs like mine that exist alongside the criminal justice system. But yeah, it's being spoken about a lot more, and it's really exciting to see how it comes forward.
It's a unique alternative, but clearly it's something that has worked for you. Would you agree? Would you have done it any differently?
One of the things that was so great was my restorative justice workers allowed me to control and, within restraints, but allowed me to take the paths and routes that I really wanted, which was really honoring because, of course, as a victim of crime, power is the first thing that's taken away from you.
Yes.
And so it was wonderful. And but then again, I would say, I didn't want that until I wanted it. And so I think it should be up to the victims as to what they need and what they're seeking. And if they don't want that, then don't go that route.
Everybody's different.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Carys, how lovely to have you on the show today. We're out of time, but it's just such a unique story. Again, Carys has written a book. It's called Dead Reckoning. You can look it up online, but you can also look at chapters here in Kamloops to see if they have it there. You can certainly find it online. I really appreciate you sharing your story.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. If you're interested in sitting down and listening to more of what Carys has today, she will be at the Calvary Community Church tonight, starting at 6:30, and you are more than welcome to go there. You can also look her up online, caryscragg.com. We're back after a quick break. Stay with us.